Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Livelong podcast today. My name is Erin Hunter, and I am the senior editor here at Livelong Media. So today I am chatting with Jordan Glenn, the head of science at SuppCo, which is a new platform for testing supplements and building science-backed routines with your supplements to improve your health. Now, supplements are becoming an exciting new target, potentially to slow aging and extend longevity. But what is the research? And is there actually any value to it? And if there is, how do we get the most value out of incorporating supplements into our routine? So, without further ado, let's dive into it. Welcome, Jordan. It's great to have you here.
Thank you, Aaron. Great to be here.
So, if you had to right off the bat, let's do a top five supplements. If I am someone who wants to start supporting my longevity, a healthy long life, feeling good, what do I take and how did you come to this decision?
Yeah, so assuming that we're coming from a place of I'm not taking anything, or maybe I'm really trying to figure this out right now. A really good place to start is like a high quality multivitamin. Let's hit all the bases right at the beginning. And I'm not a big gummy guy. Some people like gummies, some people don't, but a high quality multi, you can rarely go wrong. It's an easy place to start for people. Just to get that first one out of the way. From there, I go to magnesium. Magnesium supports hundreds of cellular processes, muscle, nerve function, sleep, stress regulation. It's a very common deficiency as well, and it's a very easy fix if that's the case. Vitamin D3, K2 combined, critical for immune health, especially this time of year as we're moving into winter. I live in Boston, so this is as it gets a little murky and our days get shorter. That's a big one here. Helps with bone density, hormone regulation, things like that. And then two more, omega 3s. They're a big one. Heart, brain health, very, very important. Tons of data showing that they help with inflammation. A lot of stuff showing can help with cognitive function as well. And then my big finish, which is maybe unsurprising these days, is creatine. Long viewed as a gym supplement, but in recent research has really pushed it into the cognitive world, into the longevity world, just aging in general. It's incredibly safe. It's probably the most well-studied nutrient or supplement on the market. And I think that pretty much everybody should be taking creatine as well. All of those I think should come first, and that should pretty much be your foundation and cover those bases before we start getting into more of the more esoteric or nascent ingredients.
Let's take a minute to talk about creatine real quick because it is becoming very common and popular in the discussion around living a healthy life. And, it's a powder, so it's not necessarily a supplement. A lot of people take it as a powder. But something I would love if you could just flesh out is why should the average person be taking it? If it was such a gym bro supplement, what all of a sudden created the switch that everyone should be taking it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we originally were thinking about creatine around this concept of just muscle growth and weightlifting and all this kind of stuff. But what creatine really does is it helps with energy production. And so everyone could, I think these days especially, everyone could use a little more energy. But it also helps with things like cognitive function. We see a lot of data coming out now showing that creatine can help with things like memory or processing speed, or a number of these cognitive elements that wane over time. And so really it's becoming important in the aging world. But also that concept of fueling and recovery and energy in general. I have a 15-month-year-old now. Whether I'm weightlifting or not, I'm doing it every day. And so that concept of being able to have a little bit more energy and a little bit more recovery, it goes a long way for most aspects of life, not just the gym.
When you say energy, what does that look like in your body? What does that mean? Is that your mitochondria? Is that what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'll use the acronym. ATP is the common energy molecule that we use in our body. Essentially, anything we do in the body that requires energy uses something called ATP. Creatine helps increase that chemical reaction in the body that produces ATP. So we take creatine, we produce more ATP, therefore we have more energy in the body to do whatever it is that we would like to do. So essentially, it's a very simple on paper, like to explain it that way is very simple, complex behind the scenes, but that's essentially what's happening when we're taking creatine.
Okay, so that's great that you fleshed out some of these very baseline things people can start doing. And I'm assuming, but maybe it's not good to assume, But is there data and literature that supports that they actually, in some capacity, can slow aging and or just improve daily well-being? Is there literal data to support all of these ones?
Absolutely. And I think it's important that we unpack like that concept of aging. And so aging encompasses so many things, and heart health, muscle health, brain health, et cetera. And so while it's I wouldn't lump each of those supplements up into like it prevents aging. We have to understand what individually those supplements are actually doing, which I think gets lost a lot of times when people start taking certain nutrients or ingredients, things like that. For example, omegas really, really impactful for heart health. If our heart's not healthy, we are not going to age healthily. So really, we're focusing on these individual organs or individual processes ahead of time. Same thing with creatine. If we think about energy, we think about brain health, we think about recovery. We're not necessarily saying that it's going to age us better, but all of those individual components, the heart health, the brain health, our muscle health, our inflammatory, reducing inflammation in the body, bone health, et cetera, all of those really lump up into that broad umbrella, which is aging. And so the more that we are impacting each of those individual elements, the better overall that we are going to age.
Mm. And so it really is an ends to a means. Supplements or just health in general is when you are starting by looking at things on a more daily microscopic scale, each organ, each system, then you think about that over the long term. And it's like, oh, okay, well, in that sense, sure, it can help with living a better, longer life because you're supporting it today
That's
and going.
exactly right. And I think we need to start with like, what are the issues I'm trying to solve? Maybe I feel like my memory is starting to wane, but my heart's okay. So maybe I'm not worried about the omegas. Maybe I'm more worried about the creatines or vice versa. And I think we shouldn't be just taking everything for the sake of taking everything. We should really be thinking, okay, maybe my cholesterol is a little high. Maybe my triglycerides are a little high, my blood sugar. Maybe I'm trying to lose weight. Maybe I'm trying to reduce inflammation. Whatever that may be, we need to be very targeted with the things we're taking instead of just taking everything under the sun, that we're going to be much more effective starting with the problem to solve.
Hmm. So why would just a multivitamin not cover it all if it covers all your bases?
It's a great question. I get this question a lot, actually. So multivitamins can be fantastic, but they're going to offer a little bit of everything. And if you go and I recommend a multivitamin that actually lists out, the amount of each ingredient you're getting. So let's say you need 500 milligrams of magnesium. A multivitamin might give you 20 or 30, like a little bit of a lot of things, but it likely is not going to give you everything you need. Otherwise, the multivitamin would be like this big. And or you need to take 3 or 4 or 5 of them a day for it to be effective. And that's
Mhm.
really where, if you have a specific issue to solve, a multivitamin's probably not going to do it. But if you're looking for general health and just trying to make sure that everything stays on track, multivitamins are great. But they're not going to offer enough of anything to really fix or to really counteract an issue you may be working for. And that's when these more personalized or specific supplements can do the job a lot more effectively.
So even though I take 3 gummies instead of 2, I'm not getting all the additional benefits.
It really, really depends, and I think we could talk about gummies later. But I just think it really comes down to what am I trying to fix? And maybe you can get it from 3 gummies, maybe you can't, I would stay with the serving size. I wouldn't like something, you hear this joke with statins a lot, right? People are like, oh, I had a steak last night, so I'm doubling up my statin dose today. It doesn't really
Mm.
work that way. But I think that once you hit your gummy threshold or your multivitamin threshold, then it's time to move into maybe a more specialized supplement or something a little more personalized.
So what's interesting to me is that you are suggesting that supplements can help fix certain things. That's the word you used, is fix.
Yeah.
Is that inherently the purpose of supplements, is to fix problems like a medication? Because there's a lot of different regulations between medications versus supplements.
Yeah, we'll backtrack the word fix maybe a little bit. So a supplement is exactly that, right? A supplement is a supplement. A supplement is not going to quote unquote fix, or if you stay up all night long streaming Netflix and you wake up super tired, magnesium is not going to fix that. And I think that that's a really important thing is a lot of times we fail to take stock of maybe our own choices or the things that we're doing that may be causing some of our sleep issues or maybe our cholesterol issues, whatever it may be. And so sometimes we need to combine that with lifestyle. Like I said, no amount of magnesium is going,
Mhm.
or glycine or theanine, whatever it may be, is going to fix that Netflix binge. But if we optimize to the best of our ability our sleep habits and then use those supplements exactly as that, a supplement, they can go a long way and add a lot of effect to helping people with those issues.
So why is this based off of your personal passion that you got into supplements? What about getting into supplements has affected your health, and why are you now passionate about this idea of taking supplements to improve all the facets of life?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I started my career, I was an academic. I used to run a lab that was focused mostly on actually aging in general. And I did a lot of work with senior living.
Mm.
You're talking about people who are dealing with that paradox of getting bigger, faster, stronger while fighting those natural effects of aging. I actually at one point worked with somebody who was 90 years old and held the world record for sprint, like the 100-meter sprint in the 90 plus category, which is kind of a wild concept. But so we got really into this concept of supplements, legal performance enhancing supplements to help kind of counteract or to the best of the ability, work with people who are dealing with some of these aging components. And as we started to see significant effects with things like creatine or beta alanine or citrulline malate, it kind of opened the floodgates of like, wow, supplements can do a lot. If we use them right, if we understand why we're using them and target them properly, they actually can be incredibly effective for helping people achieve their goals. Even, like I said, at 90 years old, we're seeing
Mhm.
improvements. And then then I went into work in diabetes, I went into work in Alzheimer's disease and started to extrapolate those learnings and that thought process into heart health, glucose health, brain health, et cetera. And it just, that pattern continues over and over and over. If we are doing our best to live healthy lifestyles, supplements, when used properly, can change many, many, many different things in our body, whether they're stacked, whether they're individual, et cetera. But we just have to use them right.
You said a word, stacked, that I hear a lot about lately, and I think other people have questions about. And the idea behind stacking, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you pair specific supplements with one another to compound the benefits of those supplements. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Or you are looking to increase the goal by hitting different mechanisms or biological processes within the body. So you may, if you're trying to reduce cholesterol, you may take a stack that looks at, things like triglycerides, LDL, HDL separately, or you may be looking to target multiple things at the same time. Essentially, stacking means you're taking multiple supplements to help achieve or work on a similar goal.
Okay, so is that something, okay, going back first, because I actually love the work you did with a 90-year-old Olympian. Did he stack? What did he stack? What was he doing? Like I want to know.
No, at the time we were working on pre-workout ingredients. So creatine was a big one. We were doing protein for recovery. We were doing a lot. He was running, 100-meter sprint. So for him, it was somewhere between, I think, 15 to 20 seconds. Um, and we were looking at things like beta alanine. We were looking at citrulline malate to increase blood flow. And so we were looking primarily on performance stacks. We weren't looking at necessarily like brain health or so he may have been taking other things there. But we were stacking a lot of different individual ingredients that you see commonly in pre-workouts today to help him kind of eke out a few, like even milliseconds sometimes can be that much important at that level. And it was just really, really fun to watch him continue to improve even at that age.
That's incredible. Did he feel like he noticed the difference, or do you think there's a certain element of placebo when it comes to supplements?
So without question, right? Like there is without question an element of it's been proven over and over that the placebo effect is real, which is why it's so important to measure it a lot of times at the biological level. But we were using it in his training protocols, and so
Mhm.
we were watching him during his training. So he was getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit faster, which was then converting into his actual race day outcomes. But we were able to measure things like lactate or blood flow or nitric oxide production, all these things that we really wanted to measure. And we saw improvements. But there is no doubt so creatine is one of my favorite examples of this. Creatine requires loading, meaning that you need to take creatine for about 2 weeks to even mostly 30 days to really see effectiveness start with creatine. I know a lot of people that are like, I need a little boost today, so I'm going to take creatine. And they're like, I feel great. It doesn't work that way. But if you are taking it and it makes you feel good, more power to you. Like that placebo effect is real.
So there's value in it. There still is health value
There
in the
is.
placebo.
You know, my favorite study of all time came out, it's almost a decade old now, and it showed that people who take supplements naturally engage in other healthy lifestyle factors, which sounds very, very simple on paper. But if you think about this concept of you wake up every day, let's say you take your gummy multivitamin, who cares if it works? If that means at lunch that you're picking the salad instead of, maybe the fried food, or you're going to actually go for that walk instead of sitting in front of the TV. If it's causing those compound effects throughout the day, I don't care if that multivitamin works. And that's really what that study showed. And I think it was such a valuable element. And I've carried that with me for over a decade. I even wrote a Substack on it a while back of just like how important I think that that study is because if you can do something as simple as take a pill or a gummy or a powder in the morning and it leads to all these other effects that you do throughout the day, who cares if it works? More power to you.
I think that's awesome. I think that's the core, that's the mindset piece of it, isn't it? Like health is not just physical, it is literally in your mind too. And
Oh, without
that's
question.
a motivation, it's motivation, if not anything. At least you're making the choice, if I take this supplement, well, okay, that's my agency and I'm choosing to do something for my health. That means I have trust in myself that I can choose other healthy habits.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly right. And we see that a lot too with SuppCo. People come in, they create their stacks, they get so excited about like changing things out or optimizing all these little things. But then now that they've made that, they excited. They're also excited about all these other health things that they can get involved in. My workouts are going to be so much better. I'm going to get such better sleep. And it just naturally helps create a lot of these downstream waterfall effects when it comes to health.
It's like the fish leading the school. You've got, or the geese, the head goose, and then all the other geese follow in the V because
Yeah,
you've got
exactly right.
the leader.
Yeah.
Um, that so you mentioned people who help use your app SuppCo to learn how to stack. For all the laymen out there, let's say I have someone who wants to work on high cholesterol. I'll use myself as an example. I have genetically high cholesterol. Now, I'm young, I know that doesn't matter. I could eat the healthiest diet in the world. I have high cholesterol. What how would I even approach stacking? Because I can go online and Google will tell me legit 100 supplements I could take. I'm not going to do that all. And it's probably not healthy for me. How do I know where to even start?
Well, I mean, what you just described is why SUPCO exists. Like the right supplement for the right reason at the right time and the right amount. And so we have protocols. You come on, say, I have high cholesterol. I want weight loss. I want better sleep. We'll use cholesterol as an example. And it will give you kind of a stack that's predetermined of this has been proven by science in these doses to help with weight loss or to help with cholesterol. You can go even deeper if you want. We have an entire health research center where it will take goals like high cholesterol or glucose, and it will show you all the different supplements, how they work, what their research efficacy grade is, what are the papers that show this. Like we really help people go as deep as they want or as surface as they want when it comes to picking these things. But then once you've identified, okay, I need to take berberine. I'm a fellow cholesterol worker here, so I take astaxanthin, I take berberine. But if you go on Amazon or you go into a store and you're like you could see 30 berberines on a shelf or 30 astaxanthin, how the heck would you even know where to begin? And that's the other half of what SUPCO does, is it says we have built what's called Trust Score. And so we look at brands, we look at products, and we rate them on 29 different attributes: manufacturing practices, the ingredients that are being used, where is it being sourced? Do they publish their certificates of analysis to show that their ingredients are actually there? All of these things and help people understand how to pick the right product. So that because we have done so much testing at SUPCO and found creatines, NAD pluses, urolithinase, berberines, they fail. We buy them off Amazon. We see that they have actually none of the ingredient that's on the label listed in the bottle. We see this with gummies a lot. Creatine gummies got a big hit for this one. And so no matter how great you've done on your research side, if you pick the wrong products, it's never going to help. And so we help people not only understand what are the supplements I should be taking, but what are the right brands to be taking as well.
What is one of the right brands? Like, who's a green flag brand that you trust? Just like anyone could get it. It's on Amazon or CVS or something. Is there one that's even known, or are the well-known brands actually the culprits?
I think there are so many great brands that exist, and so I think it's hard to just pick one. But what I would recommend is on the SuppCo app, everything that we've done in SuppCo testing, nothing with a score of eight, it scores 1 to 10, nothing with a score of 8 and above has ever failed. And so that is my like rule of thumb is if you go on the SuppCo app and you find for whatever goal you're looking to achieve, if you find a supplement that has a trust score of 8 or better, you're going to be in the clear. That's a good rule of thumb.
Okay, yeah, no, it makes sense. And I think that's important. Lately, there are more folks who are actually taking it upon themselves to do testing. And I think that's super important because a lot of us, for the layman, we don't know the better. We're told this on the label. Okay, obviously it must be true, right? Like, oh, it says there's 100 milligrams of this. Great. Like, kudos. I feel like probiotics are one of those things where it's also like, I don't know. Like, everyone says I should take a probiotic, but I don't know. Do they actually work? I've heard the counter. And so it makes you wary of even starting because you just don't know what's real and what's not.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that's why I always say start with the goal. If you are wary about whether or not you should take any supplement, ask yourself, the first question you should ask yourself is why would I take this supplement? What problem do I have that this supplement is helping me fix? If you can't answer that, don't start taking that supplement. You like go figure that out and then work backwards from there.
Reverse engineering.
Exactly. And I see this all the time. I know people that have cabinets of supplements. And if I pointed at each one and said, why do you take this or what do you take this for? The answer wouldn't be glucose or triglycerides. It would be, I heard about that on a podcast. I got this in an email. My buddy told me I should take this one. And for me personally, I don't think that's the way we should be going about it. I think that's
Mm.
where we get in trouble with supplements. And I think starting the other way, what problem do I have to solve, is always the right way to go about it.
What's really interesting? What problem do I want to solve? Lately, and for a lot of especially the health influencers and even celebrities, and for us, let's say it's to live a longer life, right? It's that idea of longevity. Now, there are products now that are literally listed as longevity supplements. So you've got NAD plus, which is for energy. David Beckham has a company now where he's selling quote unquote longevity supplements in in theory, I feel like it sounds nice, things that are, marketed to help you live longer. I want your opinion as someone who does this testing and is in this universe. Do longevity supplements have any value yet? Or is there enough research to show we should start incorporating them into our daily routine?
So this is like the question that comes up all the time, right? Like, there are no real data today that says like if I take a longevity supplement, it's going to extend my lifespan or my quality of life by 5 years or 10 years. Like that doesn't exist. Now, what we can do, like we talked about earlier, what we can do is we can impact different individual biological systems. Maybe it's mitochondrial health. Urolithin A is one that's gotten really popular, for example, for helping with mitochondrial health. And they've shown in studies that urolithin A can do really well for helping mitochondrial health in the short term. There are no 10, 15, 20-year studies showing this or the outcomes. We may get there where it's going to be a long time before we get there because we just can't accelerate that. But the short answer to that is no. There's no data showing that longevity supplements are actually going to increase longevity, but we do see a lot of those individual supplements improving different biological factors or different risk factors in the short term. And then we're putting a lot of weight on improving longevity through that data. It doesn't mean it's not going to work. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that we're in this very interesting, I would call it an experimental phase right now, where this with the hype, the excitement, the products are pretty ahead of where the science is from a long-term perspective. And we're almost all in going on this like experimental journey together of longevity. And we may find that the data we get just from people taking these things outpaces and we learn more than science ever could have told us. So I think it's a really interesting place that we're in right now.
It definitely is. it's like the AI argument, where the innovation's happening while we're living through it. And so it's a bit I guess use at your own risk or reward, but we can't tell you yes or no, but kind of like the placebo too a bit. If it makes you feel good, I guess okay. Like do
Yeah, and
it.
I think the risk is fairly low. Like most of these ingredients, you talked about NAD plus, we said urolithin A. A lot of these things we're talking about have their safety profiles are very strong.
Okay.
Creatine, incredibly safe, et cetera. So there, as long as you're taking them in proper doses, there's very little risk to trying. Even if there's no benefit, you're
Mhm.
likely not going to get hurt either. So in these cases, as long as you're, good with the price and you're conscious with that, like the risk is definitely worth the reward at this point.
Wow, thank you for clearing that up. Definitely. I think it's a hopeful, not hopeful, but it is a good perspective to have where it's the future's exciting rather than it's like we don't know yet, but it's short term, it's good. That's kind of rewarding. That's a little refreshing to hear. I think that'll put people's minds not only at ease, but it gets you excited, like the placebo effect. It gets you excited to want to continue to pursue health because it could work, right? There could
Absolutely.
be long-term benefits.
Absolutely.
In
And
Okay,
if these things help you do other healthy things in life, more power to you.
what do you do for fun? Like, what are your other healthy things?
My healthy things. So I'm a climber. So I do a lot of climbing, a lot of bouldering. Uh, I lift a lot. I cycle. That's those are. I'm a very active guy. So I think that's a lot of things I take are in the effort of that. I like to cook. I also enjoy that. I wouldn't say I'm always worried about the healthiest of cooking, but I do enjoy cooking as well. So those are probably my things I really enjoy.
And those, what's kind of funny? Those supplement your supplements. Everything in life supplements each other, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
You're all supporting each other. So as we wind down here, the last thing I want to touch on, which is something I don't think a lot of people think about, is the idea that you could be taking all of these vitamins, all of these supplements, these things that, hey, you know what? These are shown in science to help improve my life, my quality of life. What if you're not absorbing them? Like, there are issues where, let's say you have gut problems and maybe you're not actually reaping all the benefits. How do you know if you're actually absorbing what you're taking? And do you know of any ways that you could actually improve your ability to get and access the vitamins?
Great question. So the only real way to know is through like actual blood testing and things
Mhm.
like that. To know, like that's really the only way to know. But there are absolutely ways that you can maximize this. So timing, I think, is one of the most important things when it comes to understanding when to take your supplements and maximizing their digestibility or absorption. So let's see, like take vitamin D3, K2, for example. You really want to take it during a day with a meal that has some fat. Dietary fat helps improve absorption dramatically for D3K2. Omega 3, same concept. You really want to take them with healthy fat, but if you take them after you've eaten a steak, iron from steak can actually oxidize omega 3s and make it kind of useless in the body. If you take a lot of B vitamins, caffeine can actually degrade B vitamins. So if you take them at the same time you have your morning coffee, you likely aren't getting the maximal effects from B vitamins. I'm trying to think of a few more examples. CoQ10, same thing. You want to take it with fat. It's fat soluble, so much more better tolerated if your digestive system's already, doing its thing. And then electrolytes is another good one. Caffeine, especially if you're not habituated, can have mild diuretic properties. So you can be taking electrolytes and excreting them right back out if you're taking them too close together and you really want to separate that a little bit. So, and there's a lot more examples, but really understanding the timing, and it's complicated, right? But SuppCo actually it's funny you asked this. SuppCo just launched a smart scheduler where you could input your stack. Let's say you're taking 10 things. It will literally create a schedule for you and tell you when you should take what you should take it with, how to think about it, and kind of take that research and guesswork out. So it really will simplify that process because you could be taking a lot of things and not getting the full benefits and really don't even
Mhm.
realize it.
That I take vitamin B12 with my coffee. I use coffee to chase down my vitamin B. That is great to know. That's fantastic. And there probably are a lot of instances, and there are resources though where people are just curious, hey, to maximize this, use your tool, or you could go online and figure out, hey, is
Yep.
this better to take then or then, yada yada yada.
Absolutely.
That's that's fantastic. Can you leave us with a surprising fact about supplements that people might not know or something fun about them?
Something fun. I'll tell you my favorite supplement that doesn't get. How about I'll go with my favorite supplement that I don't think gets nearly as much credit as it deserves.
Yes.
And it's one called nattokinase. It's an extract from the natto bean. It's a Japanese in origin, and it is incredibly powerful in research studies for heart health, cholesterol, things like blood pressure, triglycerides. Nattokinase is, I think, kind of a unsung hero. We hear a lot about berberine as nature's GLP-1. We hear a lot about omegas, but I really think that nattokinase deserves its time in the spotlight. It's still the research is still pretty early, but the research that we do have is incredibly powerful, and I think that that's one that is going to hit the mainstream in the next couple of years as the data continue to flesh out.
You called it. Well, we'll keep tabs. And then when it becomes popular, we could say, hey, I know a guy who predicted this years and years ago, and you got it. We'll see. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with everyone, though. This was a great conversation, and it just opens up so many windows for discussion about so many things in this universe that is the Suppiverse, I would call it.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you for having me, Aaron. This was a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan.